Hey guys, thank you for joining us for another Men's Bible Brief. This is Pastor Autry. Hey, if you can join us, you know what to do. If not, don't worry, we got you covered right here. Well, I've talked long enough. Let us go ahead and join today's brief in progress. God bless you.
It's about 7 o'clock. Good morning, brothers. My name is Mark Simmons, and I'll be your host for today. I would like to welcome you and thank you for attending Christ Community's Men's Bible Brief. Just a few things before we get started. Our briefs last about 30 minutes, give or take. If you need to leave early, that's not a problem. Just let us know in the chat or wave goodbye if you prefer. I need everyone to know that this is a safe environment. We do not judge or crosstalk, and we only record the speakers in the sessions. We do not record the conversation that follows. And we do post the speaker portion on Christ Community's YouTube page. After our speaker has delivered the Bible brief, everyone will have an opportunity to make comments and ask questions. If you have a question or a comment, please raise your hand in the chat tool and you'll be recognized in order. We ask that you limit your comments to no more than 2 minutes. We want to give everybody as much time as possible to wrap it up. Please mute yourselves at this time, maintain a level of respect, anonymity, and Zoom etiquette. If you want to share links, resources, or extended comments to the brothers, utilize the chat. With that, let's break it down. The Hump Day food for thought is a quote that I can't remember where I heard it, but I think it is relevant to most of our discussions, and it's short. That is, vision equals faith plus precision. Vision equals faith plus precision. With that, our speaker today is Dr. Terrence Autry. Pastor, take it away.
Thank you for coming to share this morning as we do the brief today, and really excited about what I believe we need to chat about. Today, I want to, it's funny, about a few weeks ago, I was in a Bible study and the question of sexual health came up. And just off the top of my head, I shared some information that I had researched this for years, actually. And I was shocked at how many people were unaware of the information. So I felt like the Lord is saying, you need to come back and talk about a man's sexual health. I originally had entitled it A Man's Sexuality, but I think the better phrasing of this topic is a man's sexual health. And that's what I want to talk about because there is a health element to it. And I don't think as at least in the church, we don't get to really talk about this freely. You know, usually when sex comes up, it's conviction and quiet time, and pastors are beating up folk, and that definitely ain't the goal here, brothers. This is about ministry. It's about blessing. It's about how God wants to enrich all of our health as well as our sexual health. And I got a text that proves that, and it's found in Proverbs 5. Verses 15 through 19, Proverbs 5, verses 15 through 19. And listen to these words. It says, drink water from your own cistern and fresh water from your own well. Should your springs be dispersed abroad, streams of water in the streets, let them be yours alone and not for strangers with you. Let your fountain be blessed. Now, he's talking metaphorically, guys. He's not talking about a literal water fountain. He's talking about brother's sexual organ here. Okay, let your fountain be blessed and rejoice in the wife of your youth. As a loving hind and a graceful doe, let her breast satisfy you at all times. Be exhilarated always with her love. And so today I want to just talk about a man's sexual health. This actual text, many believe, is penned by one of Israel's a king by the name of Solomon. And he's having a conversation, a talk with his son. It's a father-son conversation about sexual issues. He's kind of trying to prepare him for life. And basically he tells him, he said, man, God wants to bless your fountain. God wants to bless your sexual health, your sexual vitality. Now, I already know when I post this talk, some of your wives and some of the women going to want to peep in and see what we're talking about. And so you sisters that's going to sneak in, the real issue here is you need to educate yourself the same way I'm trying to educate brothers. You more worried about what's going on with men when the truth is the problem with sexuality in our culture is a lack of information and education. And a lot of sisters don't understand how men operate. And to be fair, a lot of times men don't understand how women operate. And so the best thing you can do, sisters, for your sneaking in to hear what we're talking about on the speakers portion, you need to educate yourself. So that was for the sisters that try to eavesdrop on us today, guys. But anyway, more than anything, I want to just kind of share some things, because God wants our sexuality to be blessed, to be a great experience. It shouldn't be frustrating. And I think there's a lot of competing views out there in terms of what the world says is wonderful and satisfactory and what God says. So just a couple of things very quickly. Number one, as a rule, men naturally think of sex more often than women. One particular Christian report says that men on average think of sex at least once a day. The old Kinsey report, it's an old report, but it's pretty much the go-to report. It says men think of sex 12 times a day, women maybe 2 to 3 times a week. So just on that point, guys, there's really nothing wrong with you. There was a time churches tried to teach that when men did think of sex often, that something was wrong with them. No, the truth is we are wired differently. Women just do not think of sex the way we do, which means there have to be different approaches. But I can assure you, and we'll talk a little bit about addictions and things like that, not in a judgmental way, but in a helpful way. But I can assure you, if you're thinking about sex regularly, that's a function of how God has designed you. That's a function how God has made you. And you need not be ashamed of that. You need not feel guilty of that. Now, obviously, there's a place of lust and temptation, and that's a whole different area. But I'm talking about healthy sex for man. God naturally made you to be a sexual creature. Number two, men tend to connect sex to their identity. Whereas women tend to connect their identity with relationship, men tend to connect their sense of self-esteem and their sense of identity with sex. We naturally feel good when we feel we're having a healthy sexual expression. That's just a part of how we're designed, and I believe God designed us that way. The natural danger here is that we can use sex as an escapism tool, whether you're married or even single. And surely the scriptures have specific guidelines as men and women, how we ought to handle ourselves sexually. But if there's one area that, brothers, that we can be addicted and we can find ourselves in trouble, is when we make sex our complete identity marker. It's our complete identity. So if you're not careful, we use it to deal with our anxiety, our depression, and just very quickly, when it becomes an addiction, the sexual experience becomes more important than the relationship itself. So that's just something to be aware of. It is highly addictive if we're not careful, yet God expects us to enjoy it, which really speaks to the frequency we ought to have with our spouses. But you do have to be careful because it is connected to our identity. Number three, men typically want more sex than women. Period. Ain't nothing wrong with you. I know there are times some women say, well, it must be something wrong because he wanted more than me. No, women tend to only want sex about once a week. That's the average. Men, just your sperm cycle, guys, your sperm count is going to recycle every 3 days. And that's average. And some of y'all may be on that daily recycle like Pastor. But that's a natural thing. It's natural, that it's a biological function. You're going to naturally want sex more often than women. Now, I get a few where you get it's reverse or what have you, but as a rule, it tends to be more for men than women. And so that's an issue that I try to, when I do these conversations, I'm really trying to open the conversation for men and women, husbands and wives, to have an honest conversation. Matter of fact, brothers, I put it on the wife. It's your responsibility to know your husband's frequency. Because if you're not handling and feeding his appetite, trust me, there's another sister out there that would love to feed him. And so the appetites are different here, and you got to have those conversations. Number four, and my last thought here very quickly, a man's health, is vital to good sexual health. Your physical health is connected to your sexual health. So for example, The statistics and studies have indicated smoking does decrease your sexual vitality. That's a fact. Alcohol also plays into that as well. You got to be careful because we do now know that alcohol actually closes the arteries. And so your blood flow is what gives you the vitality. If those arteries are closed, the blood can't get down to do the business it needs to do. That's why in the morning, guys, you never need to be ashamed when you wake up and your friend is there staring you in the face. Because what has happened during the night, you are relaxed. And when you're relaxed, your your arteries can open up very well. So in the morning, all of a sudden, somebody's there to greet you. That means everything's working fine. Matter of fact, if I can take it even further, if you are a high frequency guy, it really is a word about how healthy your heart is. It speaks to the strength. So it really goes back to, I think, the biblical idea that God wants us to have a very healthy sex life. I will add this as well, that there is a study that says that if you have sex with your spouse at least 4 times a week, that you have a higher chance of reducing prostate cancer in your body. So when you had this conversation with your wife, you said, well, look, I'm just trying to live longer. I'm trying to reduce my prostate cancer possibilities. And so that would work in your favor. But beware the alcohol, beware the smoking, also sugar and any kind of processed sugars. You got to be careful. Your waist size is going to also affect your sexuality. So you got to be careful as well. That's a dangerous issue. The issue of pornography. Be careful, because what happens with pornography, guys, is that it desensitizes you to relationships with women or with your wife. So you got to be careful. And the reason why I'm raising this is because that's why it's so important to have a frank conversation. And one of the things I try to do with couples is really give them resources. And there are really a lot of good Christian resources out there that are designed for couples to open up and have a frank conversations about desires, frequencies, feelings, fears, all those kinds of things. And they're very helpful. And I probably should have included some links to that. And I'll have to do that in subsequent emails so that you can do that and have a conversation. The last thought I want to share, and I'm wrapping this thing up, is that sexual health or a healthy sexual ethic based on this text is not found in multiple partners, but it's multiple experiences with the same partner. Now, I know that's a word for monogamy, and that's not meant to be anti-single brothers, okay? So I want to encourage my single brothers. But here's what this text is saying this morning. What he is saying is, he said, look, son, I want you to understand, when you spread your seed abroad, when you're dispersing your seed abroad, yeah, there's a pleasure there, but you got to drink from your own cistern. You got to let your own fountain be blessed. And there is where the real exhilaration, there's where the real work. As a matter of fact, the picture is more like digging for water in the desert. You know, if you dig in 40 places, you ain't gonna never hit water. But now if you stay in one place and you keep on digging, and y'all not getting it, I'm trying to help you, and you just keep on digging, and you just stay in that same spot, and you keep working, and you keep working, guess what? You're going to hit that spring way down at the bottom. I'm trying to help somebody today. That's what the scriptures are trying to say. And so to my single brothers, I'm not trying to pressure you into marriage in any kind of way. But what I am saying is God does want to bless all of our sexual health, our sexuality. He wants to bless that if we do it in a spiritual and a healthy way. God bless you. Let me give you my 3 questions very quickly so you can, I should have given this to you earlier, Mark. I apologize for that. Here's the first question. Number 1, what resonated with you most about the talk today? Hope you feel free to share. Number 2, are there steps you need to take with your own sexual health? Sometimes we got to manage our health first before we can expect what our wives or the women to show up to do. And then number 3, do you think a woman or your woman is ready for this kind of talk? And I'm done. God bless you.